Hello there. Hi, hi, hi. Judith again. Dr. Judith in Atlanta, Georgia. Still Monday evening. Last recording for the day. You'll hear it sometime. You'll hear it in the next couple of days. It'll be available on YouTube. I hope that you've been getting something out of these sharings that I've been doing recently. I pray that it makes a difference in your daily living because that's what this is about. That it's not about Sunday morning, it's about daily living. And certainly, if what I share makes a difference in your daily lives, and that you can not only take it in for yourself, but hopefully share it with others, then my living shall not be in vain. And it's so important to me that my living be of value, not just because I have money, I have clothes, I have a car, I have a house, but that what I'm doing and what I'm sharing, my life is making a difference in the lives of others. And that's what's important to me. I want to know that I'm not just on this earth waiting to die. I want to know that I'm here doing my best with the help of God to make a difference. And so today I wanted to talk with you about, I forgot. Dear Lord. I'll share this with you real briefly. What I want to share with you is our minds. Folks, I had the COVID virus back in 2020. My mother was ill during that time. And right after I got sick, she was sick before. She's been bedridden for many years. And she's 95 years old. And the first recording I did, I think I spoke to her, and I'm not sure I recorded that for hearing. But my mom lived in Florida, and she was 95 years old, and she had been sick with several ailments, and she had diabetes and all these things. But my mom was a firecracker, so let me not make it seem like she had physical issues that she dealt with, medical problems, but she was a firecracker. And when I was a very young girl, I learned that my mom was not very fond of me. And of course, it was painful because, I mean, who does not want their mother to love them? And so I found out very young that first of all, in fairness to her, I don't think she knew how to love any of her children. I think she just had she married my father very young. She was 19 and he was 32, I think, at the time. And so there was that age gap, and he could be very angry at times, and he adored her. And she was a gorgeous woman, beautiful woman, till the day she died. My mom had the most exquisite skin, and she was 95 years old. I'm 68, and my son says, "Mom, your skin is so clear and so beautiful." Well, I'm hoping that will last if I am here for another day, another week, or another 20 years, or whatever it might be. But my mom found it hard to mother. She was a woman who was very interested in her own delights, her own concerns, her own needs. And she ended up having actually 10 children. One was it was a twin. One of my brothers had a twin sister. She died shortly after birth. But my mom she had 10 children. And she was a child herself when they first got pregnant. And so it was difficult for her. And but she had some issues, like a lot of black folks do in the islands and here. And a lot of folks will not accept it. They will not admit to it. But it's the truth. We have a problem with color. We still have a problem with the color of our own folks. And she was a light-skinned woman. And she was light-skinned, and I was darker than I am now. And God bless her, she just didn't know what to do with me. I was not, certainly I was not her favorite. She really had issues with that. And I knew that as a child. I knew that as a young girl, that she just didn't feel any great, she was a little embarrassed by me because I was so dark. And I can speak of this, and there's no rancor, no anger, no malice or anything with my mom. She was a product of her time. And my father, who was very dark, like me, or me like him, Yet she married him. That's who she chose to marry. But anyway, that was an issue growing up. And so I was always, looking to her to love me. And she couldn't, it was hard for her. And why do I bring this up with this COVID thing that I'm sharing? Is that while I got sick, I was planning a flight and everything arranged for my son and I to go to Florida to see her in 2020. And got the virus. My son got it and I got it from him. And I wanted to go see her. Prior to that, of course, she's had these diabetes issues and all of that before, but she was okay. My mom was a champion. She fought everything that came near her that was not supposed to be near her. And so she fought all the medical issues that she had. And I mean this sincerely, she was a champion. She was just a champion person. And sometimes I think my mom, like myself, fought unnecessary battles because of our personalities and the choices that we made. But anyway, so I got the virus sometime in January of 2020. My son got it before that. I got it later on. And so I was laid up for a while. It was horrible. It was terrible. It was a horrible thing. And she was ill. She wanted to go home. She had accepted Christ several years before. And my mom was not only tired physically from the different ailments and stuff, but my mom would speak to me. She said, "Judith, it's pretty." And she was talking of heaven. She wanted to go home. She was tired of this earth. And she was having a little bit of dementia. So to explain to her about the virus didn't make sense. She was not receiving. She was too tired. And, so I didn't even try to explain to her. But she said, "You're coming, right?" And I said, "Yes, I'll be there. I promise you. I've made arrangements to come." But then I got sick. And the virus was raging in Florida, and I didn't want to run the risk of taking it there to her, although I was officially over it. And so in July, I was supposed to go in June to see her, and in July, early July, she went to the hospital in Florida, and she wasn't feeling well. We're not quite sure what happened. But she'd been sick. And like I said, she wasn't eating. She lost her appetite. And like a lot of people who are looking at death and facing going home, especially when they know Christ, I believe, she lost her appetite. She didn't really have she had no desire for this world anymore. I can tell you that. From the conversations we had, she was ready. And she was apologizing to everybody and anybody she thinks she ever slighted. She wanted to say she's sorry. She's asking God's forgiveness. And she was making a way ready. She was, she wanted to go home. And I remember she said to me several times over the last few years of her life, she said, "Judith, I'm sorry. I said, "Ma, I got to tell you, I forgave that stuff a long time ago. Don't worry about it. We're fine. We're good." And we were. Before I moved to Georgia, I spent quite a few years taking care of her. She was bedridden for the most part, but she could get out of bed. She'd lost her legs to diabetes and all of that. But it was my greatest honor and pleasure to take my mom to church. I have a brother that lives there that we'd alternate taking her to church. But I would take her to church, to restaurants, to movies. And I remember one day we were walking, I was pushing a wheelchair going. And we ended up, God is a beautiful father. We ended up living in a cul-de-sac. My mom in one house and me in another. Ideally, I wanted us to have a big house together. But anyway, she had her house and I had mine. So I would cook for her, I'd clean for her, I'd wash for her, I'd do all this stuff. And we were only 3 doors away from each other. And I remember one day I was rolling her home. And she had lived, like I said, she had an issue with that color thing. And she had treated me pretty badly over the years. But guys, I have to tell you, I'm so grateful. I was never angry at my mom. I was disappointed. I was hurt. All those things are true. But I loved her so deeply. And I know it had to be God because I could have done the opposite. And so I was pushing her over in the wheelchair to go back home. And she said, "Judith, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to be a burden to you." I said, "Let me explain this to you, lady. You're not a burden to me. It is my honor and privilege to take care of you. And it was. It was one of the greatest things in my life to know that I could make a difference in my mom's life. I took care, I mean, my son, who at the time was like 5 years old, he would try to lift her wheelchair. He's another champion to me. And she was just, it was great. And I believe when I tell you, she was ornery, she would go, oh, she'd get angry. And as time went by, after her surgeries and all that stuff, and God moved me out of Florida because I had to. It was too much physically taking care of her. But I wanted her to come with me. But she didn't. But God didn't, because God had something in mind when he brought me here. But the long and short of it for this episode, until we share again, or until I share with you again, was that I watched God change her heart. And I remember I said to the Lord once, sometime right after I moved from New York rather to Florida, and saw that the relationship was what it was. And I remember saying, God, I know she cannot mother me. Would you help? Would you make us friends? And guys, let me tell you something. God gave me a bonus. He not only made my mom and I friends, he made us mother and daughter. So when she died, I mourned and wish I had gone with her. And I felt my mother's love for the first time in, I think, between 2018 and 2020. My mom loved me as her child. All the other stuff that had happened when she didn't know better, when she was ignorant, when she was young, and all that stuff. And let me tell you something. I thank God Almighty that I never held it against her. I thank God that I loved her no matter what. Too dark, too light, whatever it was. God brought her out of that. She gave her life to him. And so when my mother died July 14th, 2020, I cried because I knew I'd miss her. But I was grateful because I knew where she went. And I knew I would see her again. And I mean that as sincerely as I can. And I had the great gift of having received a mother's love before she left this earth. Guys, listen. God doesn't give us everything we want because we don't need everything we want. But he gave me first a friend and then a mother. And so I've lost her in the physical. But oh my God, the love that we shared, the jokes, the humor, the fun times, that I've always been a humorous person, even before we got close, but it just got more intense. And she was very humorous, kind of dry sense of humor. But God brought us full circle. And so the love I didn't get as a child from her, she gave it to me as she got older and as I matured. What a gift. What a wonderful, wonderful thing. Despite the pandemic, despite the virus that I got, I thought it would take me out because it was so vicious on me. But God kept me alive and kept my mom alive for us to express our love for each other. And then he took her home. God will give you beauty for ashes. You got to trust him and believe him. I hope what I'm sharing with you guys makes sense. I hope it does something for somebody. I hope it encourages somebody. I hope it makes somebody realize that this is not all for naught, that there is promise and there's hope if we trust God. And if we do what James 1:22 says, let's not just be hearers or readers of the word. Let us be doers of the word. It's because I was reading the word, meditating, and living out the word that I had the boldness to ask God, help her. Help us to be friends, even if we cannot be mother and daughter. Well, he gave us both. And I thank the Lord, and I thank you for listening. I thank you for watching. Until next time, this has been Dr. Judith in Atlanta, Georgia. Walk good.